A refreshing take has just dropped in the LitRPG space, where our protagonist is not the designated hero. Let's talk about it. Hey there everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Inc. My name is Wyeth, and today we are talking about Book 1, I'm Not the Hero, a LitRPG book written by the author Sour Patch Hero. A little ironic, but we'll go ahead and give it to them. I guess they have a favorite candy and they want everyone to know about it. This was a really interesting read for me, and I was disheartened, to say the least, that book 2 is not already out, but that's just because the first book was recently written in 2023. Before I jump into too many details about I'm Not the Hero, I want to go ahead and mention some of the other books that have recently dropped on the audio platforms that I'm not going to be doing videos on, but I want my audience to know about. First and foremost, Primal Hunter 8 dropped, and that book was truly phenomenal. If you have not heard about the Primal Hunter series, feel free to go check out on my channel. I've got a series review on it, or just pick up the book because it is one of the best progression fantasy / lit RPGs that I've ever read. Another one that recently dropped is Bimort 3000. It is the 4th book in the Shopocalypse series, and it's only getting better and better. So if you're looking for something similar to Dungeon Crawler Carl, then that is the series for you. Now, jumping on back to I'm Not the Hero. To give a semi-spoiler-free summary, as I usually do, our main protagonist, Oren, is best friends with the popular kid at school named Daniel. The young man named Daniel is good at everything you could think about. Socially charismatic, on all the sports teams, and tends to be romantically involved. This is not the same for Oren, who's kind of always been his third wheel in certain situations, as well as the backup friend. But since they were so close as children, it's one of those friendships that are not going to be thrown away due to someone's rise in popularity. Now, the turn comes into the story very early, I should mention, as it is an isekai, and this isekai is done through the death of both Oren and Daniel. Oren accidentally joins Daniel on his journey to another world where he is now the sidekick. And Daniel is the hero told throughout the stories and the lands as the one who will defeat the demon army. And yes, they poke fun at the demon aspect, since it is kind of on the nose for these types of stories. So I do appreciate that. With all that said, Oren's goal, basically, as well as Daniel's, is to get back home. Though where Daniel has specific hero tasks that need to be done, Oren finds himself trying to help Daniel survive and stay on task almost, as well as finds that his own class adds some benefits that no one saw coming. The writing style with this book was really well done. Personally, I'm not one for characters being under the age of 20. I much prefer them to be mid-20s, if not older, with the books I read, just because you have more of a adult feel to the stories opposed to a more YA book. That's not a really big concern here. Yes, they will touch on, high school topics on occasion, but at the end of the day, it is very not at the forefront of the book, so that is not something you have to worry about. It is not a YA, at least in my opinion. The first pro that I'm going to mention, which I'm sure some of y'all can see coming, is the interesting idea to not make the protagonist the hero of this new world that they have both been drawn into. It's an interesting idea to see the situations look like from Robin's perspective opposed to Batman's in this scenario. But at the end of the day, I will say Oren has a lot more potential than Robin ever would have. Not to give any shots to the young man himself. What I mean by that is he has a lot of abilities that Daniel, or let alone the rest of the world, have never even heard about. And once you get further into book 1, you start to realize what a powerhouse Oren himself has the potential to be. With that said though, he is not dealing with a lot of the things that the hero usually deals with. Yes, there is political intrigue, but seeing as Oren is able to stay under the radar of the scrutiny being given to Daniel, he's able to accomplish things that the hero never would be able to. Now, to jump into my con for this series, some of the characters, depending on the topics, tend to overreact to certain situations. This is just a personal gripe for me. Some people will take offense to certain actions that Oren takes, or even Oren himself might overreact with other actions that Daniel or his peers in this new world might take. And I think it's a little overdramatic, to say the least, but at the end of the day, it's also not too prevalent. There's just a certain 3 or 4 times that this does happen, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but nothing to take too much away from the book itself. Finally, my second and last pro for this series is the fact that the ending is written very, very well. Oftentimes when the series is self-published or put on Royal Roads, or when the author is considering the series as a whole and not the books that the series will be broken into, sometimes the endings of certain books, at least in the beginning of the series, will have a lackluster performance. It doesn't really feel like an ending, almost like the completion of a chapter. And now we have to wait until the next book to really pick up where we left off. That's not what's happening here. In this book, you can definitely tell that the author, Sour Patch Hero, put a lot of thought process into how to wrap up book 1 and set the stage for book 2. So you're not just sitting on your hands waiting for the next book just to find out how the situation is resolved. You do get that last bit of clarity and consistency at the end of book 1, and it'll tide you over, at least it will for me, until book 2 comes out. So that is my big pro for this book, and another reason of why y'all should pick this one up. Since this video is on book 1 and it is not a series review, seeing as there's only one book out, I'm gonna forego the deep dive for this video. I'll try not to make it too much of a habit in the future, but I just don't have too much to talk about, too many spoilers with this series. Definitely when we get further books into the series, we'll be able to talk shop a little more for those of you who have read the series. Though if you have not, I do implore y'all to go ahead and pick this one up because it is so dang good. With that said as well, y'all need to go ahead and read Primal Hunter, especially book 8, since it did just drop, so that we can get more sales for that author Zogarth, and ideally they pop out more books quicker, because I'm in love with that series almost as much as Defiance of the Fall, though I don't know, it could go either way right now. As well as, if y'all have not checked out Shopocalypse yet, that is definitely something that y'all should tend to. With all that said, I do appreciate everyone's time. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week, and be sure to keep reading.